Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Em and my books are everywhere. Today I'm going to be wrapping up this last week of reading and going into my plans for the next week coming up. So this last week has been the end of December, beginning of January 2025, and I was super excited to finish up my 2024 reading year, and I'm still compiling everything that I've read, and I'll have a stats video for wrapping up 2024 later on. But today I just want to talk about this week and what I've read and what I'm currently reading now, and hope to finish going into the next week. So I'm going to start with A Quiet Life in the Country by T.E. Kinsey, and this, I believe that I may have started this last week, but I'm pretty sure that I finished it this week. And this is a cozy murder mystery historical. It's about Lady Hardcastle and her maid Florence that used to be spies, and they have moved to the country and end up getting involved in a murder or two that happen, and investigate. And it's really fun, just the way that Lady Hardcastle and Flo interact with each other, the humor that they have in their interactions. Lady Hardcastle calls Flo tiny servant because she is petite, and Flo calls Lady Hardcastle, what does she call her? Oh, I don't remember. I'll put it right here. But it's just really funny the way they interact with each other, and they really have more of a friendship because of their past adventures than as a relationship of like lady and maid. And I just love it. I think it's really fun series. I've only read 3 books in it, and this is a reread for me. Quiet Life in the Country is book 1, and then I immediately followed that with book 2, which is In the Market for Murder, and again by T.E. Kinsey. And in this book, Lady Hardcastle and Flo, it's been several months since the last book ended, and they're involved in a whole new set of mysteries. I was thrown a little bit when I started this book because it kept referring to a mystery at a circus. I think that that's just background because I couldn't find that there was like a book in between or anything. If anybody knows different, please let me know in the comments, because I would love that story of the circus and a mystery involving the circus that would have happened in between A Quiet Life in the Country and in The Market for Murder. So the author had originally self-published these books, I found out, and he did have an episode that happened at the circus, and he didn't include it in the reissues, but hopes to do something with it at a later date. But in this case, there has been a death at like a farmer's market, more like a county fair that we would know of here in the States. I know that our fairs in California are more like that, where they're selling livestock and stuff, but apparently here it's something that happens every week, and a man he falls dead, and then they determine that it was murder, and then they're trying to investigate what was the cause of murder, who would have wanted him dead, and how were they able to carry it off. It's really interesting, and again, lots of fun camaraderie between Lady Hardcastle and Flo. I loved it. And the next book I read, or that I finished, I was reading The Belchester Towers by Andrea Frazer, and I had already read I had read White Christmas with a Wobbly Knee, and then that's the second book in the series, but I do read that every December, and I just decided to read the whole series again this year, and even past the books that I hadn't read before. So I went back to the first book, which is called Old Moorhen's Shredded Sporran. No, it's not. Book 1 is Strange Ways to Oldham, and that introduces Lady Amanda Golightly and her old friend Hugh Chumley Crichton Crump. and she finds him in a nursing home, hasn't seen him for several years, and she goes to visit someone else that she knows in a nursing home, and then finds Hugo there, and that he is just in a really bad shape, and she decides that she could care for him better at her house than the care that he's getting at that nursing home. So she takes him out of there and takes him home, and they immediately get embroiled in a mystery that they solve. And with the help of Lady Amanda's butler, man of all house stuff, Beecham, and she calls him Beauchamp. And it's another fun, cozy mystery. Strange Ways to Oldham is the first book. The second book is White Christmas with a Wobbly Knee. The third book is Snowballs and Scotch Mist. And that one, I've been listening to these on audio and reading them in ebook. Snowballs and Scotch Mist is not available on audio, so I did read that as an ebook. And Old Moorhen's Shredded Sporran is book 4, and I did listen to that one on audio. And then book 5, which was new to me, was Carribean Sunset with a Yellow Parrot, and I finished that one this week. And in this one, Lady Amanda and Hugo are off with Beecham and his new spouse to the Caribbean, to an island called Carribean, and it's Lady Amanda's old friends from, I think it was college, and a couple of them have bought houses in a development there on this Caribbean island and own the other houses that are unoccupied, and they invited their old school chums to come and check out the houses and the island to see if they would like to buy a house there and move in to that little development that they have going on. And someone is killed, and then Lady Amanda and Hugo investigate again, but now outside of their comfort zone. They're not in Belchester Towers anymore. Now they're at this Carribean, and I think it's called Parrot Bay, the name of the development where the old school friends of Lady Amanda's live. And being in the midst of all those people, it's just like when you get together with old friends, you're right back in those days and into the relationships and the way you interact with each other. So she has the two school chums that were always at each other's throat are now again at each other's throat, and they are mature ladies and acting like college age girls. So it was just another really fun romp with these characters. And I will say that this whole series is fairly clean. There is no sexual content at all. All the violence happens off page, but there is some language here and there, not super strong, but moderate, and some kind of, in this last book anyway, there was like a lot of humor revolving around like bodily functions. So that was a little different than in the earlier books. It was still fine. I was fine as far as reading that. I just wanted to let you know in case that's something that bothers you. And then also this week, I read Queen Lucia by E.F. Benson, and that's another reread for me. And I'm not sure actually if I read that book this week or if I read it at the end of last week, but it's close enough and I haven't talked about it recently. So this is the first book in the Lucia series by E.F. Benson, and there's 6 books in the series. The first one is just all about Lucia and her friends in her town of Reesholm that she moved to. How old was she when she moved to that town? In her 30s, I guess. And at the start of this book, she's about 40. And she is married to Philip Lucas, and so she is Mrs. Lucas, but she adopts the Italian way of naming, so she calls herself Lucia. She's the wife of Lucas, and her friend and neighbor Georgie Pilson, they do all kinds of stuff together. They play piano duets, and she sees herself as kind of like the social queen of this town. And she has a neighbor, Daisy, that kind of is vying for that position. And Daisy has gotten herself a yoga guru, and Lucia is quite envious of that and is trying to get him away from Daisy so that she can still be reigning in the social circles. It's just a a comedy. It's not a mystery. It is just more a slice of life, but a slice of comedic life. Like everything that these ladies do to one-up each other has comedic consequences. It's just a really fun time. This book takes place in the early 1920s, I believe, and it was written about that time in England, and a little town that's very Elizabethan in its structures, and Lucia tries to make it Elizabethan in its culture. It's a funny book. And so I finished that, and I went into what I consider the third book in this series, but in this volume that I'm reading it's got it listed as number 2, and that is Miss Mapp. And this is about another lady that feels that she is the social leader of her town, and her town is Tilling, and it's several miles away from Ree's home where Lucia is. And I'm still in the middle of that book, so that's one that I'm currently reading, and I hope to finish next week. It shouldn't be too much longer. And the other book that I read this week and finished, and it was my first read of the new year, was Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie. And that's the book that I'm reading for the Read Christie 2025 challenge. So this year what they're doing is characters and occupations, I think. And so the first one that they have for January is artist. And the book that they picked, that the company picked, is Five Little Pigs, and that's not one of my favorite Agatha Christie books. So I decided to do Murder at the Vicarage because it does involve an artist, Lawrence Redburn, that is renting a studio from the vicar, and he is an artist, and he's painting one of the local church wardens, I think he is. His daughter is Lettuce, and she is being painted by Lawrence, and that brings up some conflict between Lawrence and her dad, and Lettuce and her dad, and there's conflict here with the church warden, and then he ends up dead inside the vicarage, and they're trying to see who would have wanted him dead, and how they managed to kill him. And we have the introduction to Miss Marple. So this is the first full book of Miss Marple, where she is a character in it. And it's not a very flattering introduction. When they talk about Miss Marple at the beginning of this book, they pretty much are just saying that she's a nosy old lady, and just like all she looks at is scandal. But in the end, Miss Marple gets her man, and so I think it's a really fun book, and I much prefer it than Five Little Pigs. And so that's the one that I chose to read for Read Christie 2025 and Occupation of Artist. So this week I'm also reading, and have already started, an audiobook by Ellie Alexander, The Body in the Bookstore. So this is the first Ellie Alexander book that I will have been reading. I am listening to that one on audiobook, and I'm probably about a third of the way to maybe halfway through that. So I anticipate to finish that early next week, probably on Sunday. And then I am reading from Hoopla, 12 Slaves of Christmas by Jacqueline Frost. And that was the pick for Amy Marie's book club, Patreon book club, and I didn't get to finish it in time for the discussion. I did listen to the discussion, and it was a lot of fun. And a lot of times I don't mind having spoilers before I read a book. I still enjoy the reading of the book and how things happen, not just knowing who done it. So even though they did mention who it was that did it, I have forgotten by now. So I am still enjoying this, and I'm loving the whole Christmas atmosphere, even though Christmas is over now. But you can see I still have my nutcrackers up behind me. My Christmas tree, I don't know that you can see it, but it's in the corner over here, and it'll be up for till, well, we have a federal holiday because President Jimmy Carter passed away, and it's a national day of mourning, and so I get that day off of work. So that'll be the day that I'll take my Christmas down, hopefully, unless something is happening, and then it'll be the Saturday after that. But I'm still enjoying Christmas. I don't like to just cut it off on the 26th. I like to keep it going as long as I can, and so this year it'll be that around January 9th that I take my Christmas down. And in the meantime, I am still enjoying all my nutcrackers, my nativity, my Christmas tree, and all of that stuff, and any Christmas goodies too. I made some Amish friendship bread, and I just picked up a loaf that my cousin had in the freezer that I had left at her house. I picked that up on Friday, yesterday, and I will be enjoying that throughout this week. So yep, still enjoying lots of Christmas atmosphere, so I'm very happy to be reading The 12 Sleighs of Christmas and enjoying that very much. And then as far as more books to read next year, I received a couple of books for Christmas, so I'm eager to read those. My niece gave me this cozy mystery, and it is Final Sentence, a cookbook nook mystery by Daryl Gerber. I have not read this before. This was on my Amazon wish list, and she gave this to me, and I am really excited to read it because I love cozy mysteries and I love cooking. Well, I baking more than cooking, but a cookbook, I love a good cookbook. So this I think is going to be super fun to read. And this one definitely will be the next one that I pick up whenever I finish one of the books that I'm reading. And then I'm still plugging away at the English Breakfast Murder by Laura Childs. I am enjoying this, but I always feel like there's some other book that comes up that I want to read first, so I put this one down, but I own it, so I can go back to it as I want. And then other books that I have, I started a long time ago, the Amory Ames mystery series, and this is by Ashley Weaver. Her first book, I believe, is called Death at the Brightwell. I loved that book. I recommended it to my in-person book club, and we did do it one year. It's a historical mystery, historical cozy mystery about Amory and her husband, Milo, and they are going through a rough patch in their new marriage, and they end up at the same hotel where there is a murder, and they're trying to investigate it together, and it is kind of bringing up some old emotions and stuff, and she's a little upset because she feels abandoned by Milo, and Milo, she thinks that it may be having an affair, and it's just like all this stuff that's happening, but you know that they really do care for each other. So that was Murder at the Brightwell, and so this is the second book in the series, and I have already read this one, but it's been such a long time ago that I wanted to refresh myself on this one. I know the first one pretty well because I've read it a few times, but this one I only read once, and so I want to refresh myself on this before I move on to book 3, which I also have on my bookshelf. And yeah, so this is a fun historical mystery series, and it is closed door and clean. It's just a good one. I love it. And then also I have another one of these fun Agatha Christie short story collections, and this one is Midwinter Murder, and another beautiful book. If y'all saw my fall video where I talked about the fall one, Autumn Chills, this one also has gold foiling on the cover, and I think that's so pretty and seasonal, and so I thought January would be a good time to read from this book. And I'm not sure that I'll read the whole thing. I might, or just pick a story or two out of it. But yeah, so this is another book I have on deck for this first part of January. So that's been my reading week and my upcoming plans for the next week or so. So that was a lot to get through. Back to recording in this new year, and I'm super excited. I wish you all a very happy 2025. Please let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books that I finished this week, or if you've read any of the ones that I have on deck to read for next week. Please let me know in the comments. I look forward to chatting with you there. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and I will see you next time.